Bonsoir et testing. Oh, there it is. Bonsoir à tous. Good evening, everyone. Donc, bienvenue à la séance du mois de juillet. Donc, on va commencer par un moment de silence. On va s'élever et enlever nos casquettes, s'il vous plaît. Et merci beaucoup à tous. Donc, ah oui, la fameuse, voilà. N'oubliez pas que vous êtes filmé. Ça apparaît sur YouTube. Les deux extrémités ne sont pas. Quand vous allez aller au micro, vous êtes. So don't forget that the council meetings are all being recorded and taped and are on YouTube. And thank you very much. So on va ouvrir la séance. Donc un vote pour ouvrir la séance.
Pour.
Et donc la séance est ouverte et on passe immédiatement à la période de questions.
Hi there. I would like to say,
Can you identify yourself,
Richard
Mr. Meads? Thank you, sir.
I'd like to say that I am so happy that Benoit Tremblay got elected. He is the best thing that will ever happen for Charlene Valley and Saint-Lazare in general. I don't think you could ask for a better person to represent people in this town.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just full of compliments tonight, and I mean them. The work being done on the slide zone is under progress, and it's really going along. And if it helps keep the mosquito population down, they could cut down every tree in sight, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't.
It's been horrible this year. And
yes, it has been. We're talking record populations of biting insects this year.
Dreadful. And I called the city to get some trees trimmed on my property. They're getting to the point they're dangerous. They just keep growing and growing, and then they become dangerous for buildings and wires. So I'm getting the girl come over on Thursday and get somebody to trim them down at least. And the work on Charlene, although they didn't do anything yesterday and today, they're probably waiting for parts, maybe the guardrail, the asphalt, but they've done a great job. And there's a lot of traffic in there, and that's good. And the paving on
the paving on
Carillon.
Carillon.
Yeah, but you're going to have to cut some of the trees down the inside corners. People are going a little too fast around blind corners, and that needs to be.
I assume that's a question. The question is, are we going to cut some trees down on the inside corners?
Yeah, just cut so people can see what's coming around the corner. Because if you drift into the middle lane, the other person's coming. But so far, I'm delighted with what's going on there.
Okay.
Yeah, our property values are going to go back to where they should be, and Charlene Valley will become the place to go. We might even outdo Saddlebrook. Are there going to be homes built alongside each side of Carillon eventually?
No, that's if and Madame Renault is going to correct me if I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's zone conservation.
Oh, is it?
Non, c'est pas sur les côtés, puis à l'intérieur. Non, commerce, c'est zoné blanc.
Because I got fire hydrants in there. It's 3 or 4 of them along the side.
I know there's a whole section that is zone conservation and in behind. Au début, hein? That's all. There's a whole section there that's zone conservation.
Anyway, I just want to say everything's great.
Good.
No complaints from me.
Thank you for your statement and your comments, sir.
You're welcome.
I'll pass on your information to Monsieur Benoit Tremblay. Thank you.
Bonjour.
Bonsoir, ça va bien?
Ça va bien, vous?
Oui.
Mon nom est Carl Brisson. Je demeure sur la rue de la Plantation. Je viens vous présenter en fin de semaine au Parc Bédard. Là, mon épouse et moi, on a pris en charge de l'organisation d'un tournoi de balle. avec la Ligue de l'Op de Balmol, l'Op de Saint-Lazare. C'est un tournoi qu'on fait comme à chaque année. Puis là, comme à chaque année, les causes changent. Là, d'habitude, on a 5-6 équipes. Là, on en a 20.
Wow.
On a fait ça pour amasser des fonds pour, là, c'est l'hôpital général pour enfants. Puis pour une cause comme en particulier, c'est la recherche sur le DIPG. C'est le nom d'un cancer du cerveau qui touche les enfants d'en bas de 6 ans. Puis donc, présentement, il y a 0% de chance de rémission. Puis les enfants meurent entre 6 et 12 mois. Fait que nous, c'est une cause qui nous touche parce que c'est un de nos amis qui a fondé, je ne sais pas, peut-être que vous avez comme entendu parler comme de Perry G. Il fait des événements liés comme au baseball avec les Expo Fest, avec les anciens joueurs là, de baseball, puis tout ça. Puis en tout cas, fait qu'on s'est impliqué là, fait qu'avec lui. Fait que pour là, comme en fin de semaine, ça va être pour cette cause-là. On a 20 équipes, on a plusieurs qui viennent là, de l'extérieur, qui vont pouvoir voir notre belle ville, là, qui viennent de Saint-Jérôme, de Gatineau, de la Rive-Sud. Fait qu'on va avoir pas loin de 250 à 300 personnes pendant 2 jours. Donc, c'est ça. Puis là, comme on a comme aussi la présence là, de Stéphane Richer, qui est l'ancien joueur de l'Homme du Canadien pour 2 heures. Puis de Francis Lafrenière, le boxeur de Coteau du Lac, qui va être là, notre président, là, qui est bien là, comme impliqué dans la communauté. Fait qu'on espère que les gens vont venir faire un tour. Fait que, juste comme 3 petits points. Premièrement, j'aimerais vraiment remercier comme la ville pour votre support parce qu'on a là, les terrains, là, les employés, puis là, du matériel, là, des tentes, des tables, tout ça. Fait qu'à chaque année, ça nous fait chaud au cœur que vous êtes dans l'organisation de notre tournoi. Deuxièmement, j'aimerais vous inviter tous et chacun, là, personnellement, comme venir faire un tour. On a même là, commandé, fait que du beau temps. Fait qu'il va faire beau. Puis,
la commande est placée?
Oui, c'est
excellent.
Ça. Oui. Non, c'est sûr. Là, ça a l'air qu'on est que l'on est sûr. Puis finalement, j'ai contacté comme la ville pour essayer qu'on mette notre pub sur le site de la ville ou sur la page de Facebook. Puis j'ai pas eu de réponse. Fait que, je sais pas, je le sais que normalement, c'est comme réservé pour les choses de la ville, mais la ville est comme supporteur, puis c'est au parc Bédard. Je me demandais s'il y avait moyen de...
Donc, on va faire, c'est ça. Donnez ça immédiatement à M. Tremblay.
Ah, cool. Okay.
Immédiatement.
Les miennes, celles de mon époux. Ouais. Les 2 autres feuilles, oui, c'est ça. C'est pour, là, ça vous dit comme, là, c'est quoi la cause, puis c'est pourquoi qu'on ramasse les fonds. Fait que je donne les autres comme là, de 2 copies aussi.
Merci.
C'est quelle date, votre tournoi?
C'est en fin de semaine.
Là, c'est en fin de semaine. C'est
en fin de semaine,
le 14, puis je sais que vous êtes un des commanditaires, là, comme à chaque année. Fait que j'ai pas besoin de... C'est tout. Fait que un gros merci, puis on espère que si je peux avoir là, comme une réponse.
Merci. Et merci pour toutes vos contributions que vous faites à la communauté. C'est bien apprécié. Merci beaucoup.
Hi, Patricia Novas from Chemin de Fief.
Good evening.
Good evening. A while back, I had asked, I think it was Pamela and Mr. Couture that were in charge of speeds on roads and security. I had asked about putting the speed limit on Partie down since it goes through La Pinière Park. And even though it's a long stretch, the woods go right up to the road. So if deer or an escaped horse is running through or cross-country skiers, cars don't really have time to react. I don't know if anyone could be put on that file, or who do I ask about considering lowering the speed limit through a park to 50 on Partie Street?
La rue Poirier, c'est... pardon? Oui, c'est ça.
Excusez.
C'est ça.
Poirier.
Monsieur Tremblay, on avait fait la demande, mais celle-là n'a pas été approuvée. Hein? Mais il va falloir qu'on vérifie. In fact, Mr. Tremblay and Monsieur Chartrand are on the Public Security Committee.
Okay.
So I'm sure it just made it on the agenda of the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Another question, since we're talking about La Pinière, I was wondering if the town, because it's public land, could ask for it to become an EFE. That's basically an exceptional forest ecosystem. And the
microphone?
And the reason why I ask that is because right now it's not, it's a conservation zone, but things can be changed by new council, new administration later on in the future. If it's made on EFE, it goes on a regional level, and then there's a lot of restrictions and no changes can be done unless the Ministry of Development, Sustainable Development and Parks approves it. For example, it prohibits, it says that the land cannot, once it's an EFE, the land cannot be signed to new use, be sold or exchanged, be subject of a transaction that affects its protection status unless the Ministry of Sustainable Development and Parks is consulted. There's a goshawk that lives there. Those are protected. It's a bird of prey. So it already right there fulfills the standard for an EFE. So I would like the town of Saint-Lazare to consider turning it into an EFE. Rigaud has 7, Saint-Anne-de-Villevue has 4. And it would be really important to protect this park. It's a beautiful park. I was watching, I haven't been here for the last 3 council meetings, and I was watching them on YouTube. First of all, I'm happy that Mr. Meads has been happy lately, and that was, I had to take a double take on that one. When you smile, you light up the room. I'm glad you're happy. There was a lot of talk about the wetlands and the Place Verde, and the importance of the wetlands, as we all know, is that it regulates floods and droughts, and it also protects against climate change. And Verde and between Côte St. Charles and Poirier, there's the biggest concentration of wetlands, and I hope that area is going to be protected because the PMAD, from what we saw, the new schema, the MRC new schema, is changing that area into villageois, I believe, and to be cut up into 2-acre lots from what I saw in the description on the schema. It's not done yet and final, but
No.
I had
not.
read that.
Yeah, it's
Has that changed?
From what I understand, and we're going to have a briefing next week at the MRC.
Oh, good.
But
Okay.
from what I understand is there's a revision coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there yet. In fact, it may be even delayed. And in the revision, they're looking at all sorts of changes. And we're supposed to get a briefing next week or the week after. I got to check my agenda at the MRC. There's a lot of rumors of them trying to impose new densification policies. But as I said in 2014, and I'm gonna, if that is the case in 2019, they're gonna have a fight. They're gonna have to do it through me.
Okay, because I see that you've protected, there were bylaws to protect wetlands in the east end, and now it's going through to the west end as well?
Yeah, what the
Out of the urban perimeter, which is fantastic.
What the council has done is they've extended the basically zero tolerance, zero encroachment on wetlands, not just in the urban perimeter, but in the whole town of Saint-Lazare.
Okay, that's
So it's
beautiful.
everywhere.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Even though I don't understand if it was in the east end how Verde got passed, but anyway, I'm sure other people will talk about it. Another thing I heard that is very, upsets me is I kept on hearing concerning Chalane Valley that the town basically takes a stance of buyer beware, buyer beware, buyer beware. But first of all, it's the town that should bear the responsibility in the sense that you guys do the zoning, you guys do the urbanization plans, and you guys grant the permits for developers. I know you can't keep an eye on every individual lot that's sold, especially empty lots, but when it comes to developers, you do have a responsibility, especially when there was a $2 million loan taken before. Now there's another $3 million loan, a total of $5 million that us, the residents overall, will have to have the burden to pay for.
The original $2 million came out of the surplus, actually.
But it's still, the surplus came from our taxpayer dollars. So it's not buyer beware, it's town of Saint-Lazare and residents beware.
Yeah.
It's something that has to be done. It's money put in the right direction. These people need help, but please try to avoid things like that.
Yeah.
Also, the government put in 9.8 million. That came out of our private income tax too.
That's right. It comes from our pockets
So we
as well.
have to really, really be diligent with that and check the developers. And when you give permits, and this thing about saying buyer beware doesn't stand. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be said anymore in this administration and in this town.
Okay,
And that's it. Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Linda Glasgow, Saddlebrook. I want to address some of the questions that were brought up at the wetlands public consultation we had on the 25th of June that we didn't quite get clear answers on. One of them being Mon Village. We asked if it was in the urban perimeter, and you were not sure at the time. Do you
Right.
know?
The answer is it was not.
It was not. Okay,
No, it was. Sorry, I said it was not.
because you're
But it,
applying.
right, no, I
an
said it was not,
exemption. Yeah.
but it was.
It is.
It is, and it was, and it
in
is.
the urban perimeter.
Yes, and at
Okay.
the time I said it was not.
Okay, so you're applying an exemption to this CO 52.
Yes, 052.
What assurances do we have going forward on any future development that you won't do the same for other projects?
Well,
An exemption?
personally, it's not me personally.
No, I'm
Okay,
speaking.
the council,
Yes.
and the reality is that now with the fact that we're going to have zero encroachment on wetlands, and that will be in everywhere. Obviously, we hope that that will help. And no, I think that the council is very sensitive to the wetland issue. So I don't foresee one way or another. Everything's got to be brought to council, and the decisions will be taken there. But I don't foresee any exceptions to the rule.
That's not a lot of assurance
Well,
for us.
okay, so-
Simply because you're saying it's brought to council, but a lot of
Mhm.
times we don't know until after the fact.
hmm So are you suggesting there should be a regulation or something in place?
Yes. Yes. Okay. We also asked if you had a definition for wetlands, what language you were using to define wetlands and drainage. And that seemed to be very vague at the time.
Mhm.
I'd like to suggest you use the same language that has been put forth by the provincial government's Bill 132.
Yeah, well, in fact, last week, I was told that I had mentioned that I would tell people to go on the website and find it. I was told that it wasn't as easy to find as apparently, so I went on and I forwarded it to the council. And in fact, today we were discussing that particular definition.
Okay, because it's in Bill 132.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say it's easy to find.
Okay, as well as the drainage. You did say that drainage and the wetlands is.
Yeah, Idrik, it's it does not speak specifically about the house, but it does define what a wetland is.
Okay, and you're going to use the same language as what's in Bill 132?
Well,
To
assumably
define
so.
our wetlands protection?
Yes.
It has to be
Well, whether
clear.
again, it's not done yet. It's not, the
Yes.
regulation is not written. Now, whether we say we want to apply the provincial definition or we put the definition in the regulation, that still will remains to be seen because it's not done yet. But yes, we will refer to the provincial regulation because that's really the easiest thing to do because it's there.
Exactly.
And I mean, there's pros and cons to both, whether we apply it directly in the regulation or we just refer to it. If you refer to it and they make changes to it, well, then we don't need to change ours again. But if we use exactly the same language and then they make it more strict, let's say in a couple of years from now, well, then we got to go change it. So there's pros and cons, but yes, we're going to refer directly to that.
Okay. Another question that was asked, penalties. That was unknown.
Yeah.
What is the town considering as penalties?
From what we understood today, when it comes to those types of penalties, it is the provincial government that determines the penalties. We can stop, and what was explained to us today is, for instance, let's say there's a contractor who is illegally draining or a wetland or infringing on a wetland. We can stop him and then report it to the provincial government. It is the provincial government that determines the actual fines.
So the town does not determine the fines or the
No.
penalty?
No, from what we were explained this today, in fact, the provincial government actually determines, has the fines determined, and from what I understood, they're fairly expensive.
And do you know if there is anything including in there, aside from the financial repercussions of replacing what you've destroyed? Is there
Yeah.
anything that deals with not just the fines? Because we've seen a
Well,
lot
we've
of
seen it.
developers are willing to pay
Yeah,
the
and
fines.
we've seen how, for instance, well, you were around in the days of the bog, and we then went in and restored it.
At
And
our cost, though.
yes, at our cost.
What
Yes.
I'm asking is there anything we can put in that would hold the developer
That
responsible?
part, I'm not
for-
sure on. Monsieur Tremblay, dans le règlement du provincial, justement, qu'on a discuté aujourd'hui, est-ce qu'il y avait de la rétablissement ou des clauses de rétablissement?
Ce qui a été expliqué aujourd'hui, M. le maire,
Oui,
effectivement, le gouvernement peut imposer le rétablissement.
Le gouvernement peut l'imposer? There you go.
But it's up to the provincial government.
Yes,
is
the
that
government,
correct?
yes.
Okay. Is there any recourse for residents that come across some illegal activity like drainage or whatever on a developer's land who hasn't got the permit yet to do? Is there any recourse for us to report it?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, if you know something that's going on, please report it
To whom?
to the urbanism department immediately, so that we can send an inspector to
Or any
To check it out.
counselor.
Or any
we
counselor?
report it one way or another. The council is going to contact the urbanism department. If you want to report it to one of your counselors, please do. And contact the urbanism department as quickly as you can if you're noting an infraction.
Okay.
If it's wetland, though, you can also contact le ministère de l'Environnement directly.
Yeah, and if you have pictures, it's even better.
We
Yes.
can contact them directly.
Yes.
Okay, good. This is regarding the Chevrolet sand pit. This question came up before, but it wasn't clear. There's been a lot of activity of landfill in the past year that's been going on at Chevrolet sand pit. And this is the first time in the 23 years that I've lived in the area that they've kept the roads open all winter. And the trucks come 5 days a week, all day. Do we know where this landfill's coming from?
The landfill that is occurring, is you're referring to the one on the west side
Yes.
of
The
the
west
pit?
side of the sand pit,
Yeah,
yes.
on the west side of the pit. I'm going to verify again. I believe that the Ministry of Environment does regular checks on the Chevrier sand pit and the landfill, but I'm going to have to check to make sure. I'm not.
Monsieur le maire.
Vous le confirmez, c'est ça? I'm pretty sure there are regular checks that are done. I don't have the exact details at what frequency and so on and so forth, but they are very much monitored. Not just the landfill part, but the depth of their digging, the amount of sand that they're removing. You'll notice that at the bottom of in their operation, there's a large trailer in there. And that trailer is equipped with all sorts of equipment. They have cameras down there,
Yes, we
so on and
visited
so forth. They have to report all their activities to the Ministry of Environment. Now, as to how often they come, I don't have the details. I can find out,
would
but I
like to
know
know.
that they are very well monitored for a lot of good reasons.
I'd like to know the safeguards that are put in place for when these trucks are rolling in with landfill. There's a lot of it. They're actually closing off almost the whole west end of the sand pit
Mhm.
with landfill. No one knows where it's coming from. And with what happened at Point Fortune with the contaminated soil,
Mhm.
I think it's something we need to be proactive about and know in advance or even know what's coming in and how often it's monitored.
Okay, noted.
Noted?
Noted here and noted there.
Okay. Does the town have any regulation regarding open fires in residential areas?
Yes.
Can you tell me what it is?
The exact regulation, I know that there's a specific dimension to the type of pit you're able to use or container. It has to have un attrape-étincelle. Monsieur Tremblay, un attrape-étincelle en anglais,
A cover.
something to catch the sparks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a screen
Yeah.
A
over
screen.
the.
Yeah. So there's
Like a
there's a
cover.
specific regulation as to the it's on our website. I believe it's on our website, and you can go look it up.
Is there a way the town can advise residents to remind them of this? There's a lot that aren't doing it. They've got open pits on Saint Jean-Baptiste. They use pallets 4 feet high. They had flames like, I don't know how high they were. The cinder or the sparks were,
I assumed you called the SQ or the fire department.
no, I didn't.
Okay.
But we were lucky it rained the day before. I think the town, it would be responsible if we would just remind residents that of the regulations.
So un
for
programme de
fire.
sensibilisation or something along those lines, where we can start advising people to be more careful, especially when it's dry.
Yes, yes.
Oui. Yeah. Okay. Si vous avez une question, vous pouvez aller au. If you have a question, you actually I would love you to comment, but I invite you to do it at the mic, sir. Thank you very much.
Because really, Mr. Guarano, there are not a lot of people following these regulations. And we've been lucky, we've had rain, but in another week or so, that may not be the case. And they continue doing their little bonfires in the open, no screening. And I don't want it, we don't want to have something happen and then say, well, we have regulations, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We have to remind people.
Yeah, but just what I often tell people is the first thing you need to do when you see something like that is call call 911,
Okay,
because they're putting themselves at risk, but they're putting you at risk as well.
absolutely. And in the regulation, it must stipulate where, like not under trees.
There's a whole description, size,
Okay.
type, cover, the whole works.
Well, in a forested area like Saddlebrook, a lot of them are under trees.
Yeah, for sure.
So, the Bordelais Bog, I met with Madame Mousseau and Madame Perrin on the 13th of June. I had a very good meeting with them. They showed me the plans that Technoram did in 2014. Definitely a lot of stuff is outdated. They did tell me that they had sent you or council 2 proposals, one for this year pertaining to the drainage and an expansion of the piezometer, because now we have more parameter around the bog than we did in 2014. Now we have the forest between Dunes Lake and the bog, as well as down to Sandmere. So they said they were proposing we have more piezometers installed to track the water flow from that angle. But they said they wanted to address the drainage as well. And they sent you a proposal on this, as well as one for next year on a flora fauna assessment.
Yeah.
When is that going to be reviewed? And if so, when?
We did receive proposals, and the council hasn't made a decision on the expense yet, because there's going to be a cost. So I'm not sure if
Yes.
it's going to go into the budget, taken out of surplus. I know we had the discussion. I don't remember exactly the position that the council had taken, but I know that we haven't positioned ourselves on whether we're going to do the expense yet or not.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead,
Were you
please.
supposed to talk to Mr. Likowitz
Yes,
regarding this
yeah.
subject?
In fact, Madame Glasgow supplied me with the phone
Okay.
number, and yeah, I was supposed to speak to him. I've left him a message, and
He's away.
yeah, he hasn't called me back yet, but I left him 2 messages. I'm sure he'll call.
Okay,
I'm sure. Oh, you know that he's away?
yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure he'll call back.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
be back next month for
I
the-
have no doubt,
Thank
Madame
you.
Glasgow, no doubt. Bonjour, Monsieur Hill.
Bonjour. You can hold this up. Adjust it.
You can pull it out and hold it in your hands if you want.
This is fine. First off, I just want to welcome Monsieur Cassavant and Monsieur Tremblay, the council. Congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
And I'm also happy that Mr. Meads is in a good mood. Meads in a good mood.
I bet Mr. Meads had no idea how much influence you had, eh? There you go. You
almost
see,
like a rock star.
your mental well-being is the
Uh-oh,
concern of a lot of people.
broken the continuum there. But so I'm here tonight primarily because of the zeitgeist of what's going on in and around Montreal. The last couple of months, it's become really, really abundantly clear to me that there's a shift in tides with respect to public appreciation of climate change and a more general understanding and appreciation that we need to do something, and that, you know, when we have thousands of scientists coming together virtually in a collective voice and saying, we have 12 years to turn this around or we're really up the creek without a paddle. That's beginning. And of course, government always seems to be the slowest cog in the wheel. And that's why I'm here, because I think this offers a wonderful opportunity for Saint-Lazare to be a leader, because it's not just my opinion, many opinions that, you know, particularly provincial and federal governments are very caught up in multiple relationships with multiple stakeholders that slow down and bog down, excuse the pun, their ability to be proactive and to be progressive. And there are lots of small communities that are saying we need to take the bull by the horns and show people at the national level that we can do things differently and that we can make policies that are sustainable and that can address the challenges to come. Because I really don't feel if it doesn't come from the ground up, we're not going to make that 12-year deadline. And to pretend that it's business as usual and let's talk about urban planning and let's talk about fiscal responsibility, very important things. But if the driving force behind that isn't, we need to protect this planet for our children to make sure they have a planet to grow up to, we're missing the ball. We are completely missing the ball. And there's so many children now who are growing up with this anxiety that, you know, I'm on a crash course for the apocalypse and nobody seems to give a damn, you know, and with good reason.
Well, you're right
So-
when you're saying that we can and are doing stuff, but you're right when you say we are a drop in the bucket.
I didn't
because-
say we're a drop in the bucket.
No,
I think
but-
the opposite. I think we have an opportunity to be a leader here on the national stage and show people in Saint-Lazare, we got this right. We were proactive, we were on the right side of history, and if you play your cards right, we can all have a significant impact. Because yes, in the global scheme of things, Saint-Lazare is a small community, but you know, we talk about education. Norway is a small country, but all of a sudden, you know,
everybody's talking
everybody's
about them.
talking about Norway because they
Absolutely.
got it right.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, they got it right many
And-
years ago. I agree.
Exactly.
And we saw the debates that were occurring a couple of weeks ago. We know what our government has done, our federal government has done to tolerate what's going out west with the pipelines.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that these deals are being made.
This is why I feel
On a grander scheme of things, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, it has to be addressed. But we know that they're making those decisions for economic reasons and political reasons.
right.
But the grassroots movement is very, very big, and it does have power. There's no doubt about it.
So on that same line of thinking, my question to you is first, the one thing that keeps coming up again and again, you know, we have all these scientists that are saying, let's look at carbon sequestration. How can we do this? We build these massive machines. And at the end of the day, scientists say, well, actually the best facility for carbon sequestration and water storage and all this are trees. You know, and that seems to be the consensus. So are we really being serious about protecting trees? I mean, from my perspective, at the national level, we should say you can't cut down trees anymore. And that may seem like people say, oh, you know, well, I don't want trees over my house or over my pool or whatever. But we're talking about survival here. You know, we've gone beyond it's an inconvenience or, you know, even, you know, I look at, I'm sure a large reason why Mr. Tremblay is here is because of unstable ground. The most effective way to stabilize your terrain is to plant trees, you know? So there's big issues with respect.
Planted 23 trees.
Thank you, sir. That's fantastic. You know, I think there's a couple of things that come to mind here. The first is it's fantastic if we would follow up on the need to replace. Bear in mind that a mature tree cannot be replaced.
You're burning
Hello?
out. You're burning out the mic, Dave.
Mature tree cannot be replaced with a sapling. You know, a mature tree can suck 100 gallons of water out of the soil and thousands of pounds of CO2. A sapling doesn't have the capacity to do that and won't have the capacity to do that for 30 or 40 years. We don't have 30 or 40 years. So this just speaks to the urgency of implementing policies and coming up with policies that will address that. Because as Madame Glasgow said, you know, people will say, well, I'm buying a house for $400,000, I'll pay the fines. Her question about the ministry policy, I believe with Article 130 or Bill 132, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
I believe for impeding on wetlands of a hectare, it's between $200,000 and $400,000.
yeah. The
So
fines
it's-
are fairly steep.
They're steep, which, I mean, that seems like a pretty good
Yeah.
dissuader.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, Mr. Hill, to get to your question.
Yeah. My first question is, what has our council, what do we have now on the ground to address that? What policies do we have in effect now to address that?
Well, are you asking the question, do we have a zero tree cutting policy? The answer is no. I think you know that.
Okay?
Yeah.
And if people cut down trees, what's the consequence?
Well, if they do it with a permit, there is no consequence.
Okay.
If they do it without a permit, there are fines.
Okay.
Are they as steep and as substantial as they should be? This is something, in fact, we've asked the Environment Committee to look at.
I would strongly support council in coming up with a more stringent tree cutting bylaw that not only takes into effect the removal of trees, but also the replacement, and perhaps even beyond replacing the tree, but also if you take down a tree that can sequester thousands of pounds of CO2, what are you doing to replace?
Got it.
And we
Okay.
have a policy of planting trees.
That's
When
what
you
I'm
buy a
talking
land
about.
without
Yeah.
trees and you build a house, you have the rules of that much of trees by square feet.
Density.
I would like to see.
That's a rule we have, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of people buying lots, and they have to plant trees.
Yeah, I would like to
There's
see.
not only cutting; there's planting is maybe more important.
It is in the long term, but the problem is in the short term. You know, you take down a mature tree, and a couple of saplings aren't going to replace it, and that's a big thing.
Noted.
Is it noted? Because
Well,
this
it
isn't
is.
the first time it's come
No,
up.
I know, but
and
again,
what's
the
been done.
question, the answer to the question is, do we have a zero plant cutting policy? The
That's
answer is no, and you're very much aware of that. Now, what we've done is we have very strict tree cutting regulations in Saint-Lazare, probably the strictest.
Okay, let me ask you this.
But
Aaron.
can they
Can
be
you
better?
come up
Can
with
they be- can
something
they be
that will
improved?
be net zero at the very least, if not creating in terms of the ability for trees to sequester carbon and fight climate change?
It would be definitely something that would be beautiful to attain. And if there's a way of doing it,
There is a way.
well-
Is there a will, is my question.
well, I think with the council that's in place right now, there probably is a will. The question is, how do we attain it? And if you have suggestions, Mr. Hill, I'll say to you exactly the same thing I said to you last time. Give me a shout. Let's sit down. Any suggestions you may have, I'd be more than happy to listen to.
Well, my suggestion is essentially, as I said,
Yeah.
that I think we need to make sure that when a tree comes down, it's replaced with an equivalent or better ability to fight climate change
Yeah.
and pollution and flooding and forest fires, because all of those things are trees provide a service in all those regards.
Okay.
And it's interesting that Hudson has suggested receiving compensation from the MRC for all of the the services or the benefits that are provided by, when you're the lungs of the region, you're doing something for all of the greater Montreal area.
It was suggested as well by a council member that we should go to the CMM and
And I think
request
you-
money from them to help us
I think you should.
continue to be the lungs of
Yep.
Vaudreuil-Soulanges.
So my last question is with regards to the PMAD. The last time I asked you this, it wasn't. I didn't get an answer. So I want to know, given the current version of the PMAD, what is the population that Saint-Lazare is expected to attain? To fulfill that quotas.
Again, I don't have the exact number here in front of me, but I believe it's somewhere around 26,000 or something along those lines. But I can check with the projections. Don't forget, they're not telling us that that's what you're going to fulfill. They're giving us density recommendations, and then they're giving us predictions on what the population should be or might be. Again, I can go look up the exact number and show it to you.
What is our obligation with regard to the PMAD to meet those densification obligations?
The obligation we have is to meet the densification
Right.
that has been given to us, forced upon us, suggested to us, call it anything you want. That's our obligation. It's not as a whole, but only in new developments. So the densification is probably easier to attain than we think.
It seems like there are a lot of projects that have either been approved or are in the process of being approved that take us far beyond what our obligation is. When you take into account what's happening in the east of our city, it seems like, once you consider around the golf course and everything.
There's
that's going
nothing
in there.
approved in that area at all yet.
Okay.
Again, we have to be careful what is rumor and what is fact.
Okay.
Okay. There's no project approved there.
Okay.
And there are no high density projects approved at this time.
I guess
Apart from the ones that are already in.
my take-home message would be, in consideration of the need for sustainable development, which it's almost like an oxymoron at this point. But if we're talking about making sure that trees stay rooted, once we reach that obligation to the PMAD, I think trying to exceed that or having the short-term thought that we can increase.
There's a mic replacement coming in.
We can is that working? Yeah. We can increase our tax base and increase revenues. It's a zero-sum game. When you start looking at the amount of infrastructure that needs to be addressed and the services and everything else, if that really worked, then we would have stopped.
But I'd be interested in
years
seeing
ago.
how we can attain a break even. And again, I
The only
invite.
way to obtain a break even
Yeah.
is to have responsible fiscal policy that is long-term.
The message is heard, Mr. Hill. I don't want to push you along,
No,
but there's several
fine.
people behind you.
Okay, I'll be back for the answers.
Thank you very much. Dave, give me a call. Okay? Et voilà. Là, vous êtes à la hauteur des choses.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening.
distinguished members of council. And I would like to thank you for reminding my citizens that I sincerely respect their opinions, but thank you for reminding them that this is indeed question period and not a soapbox to make statements. On that thank you. And I would just like to say, last time you and I conversed was last fall at the Hydro-Quebec information sessions.
You have a better memory than I do, sir.
Possibly. At that time, many residents were concerned about trees near their homes, near power lines.
That is correct.
And we had all kinds of assurances from people at Hydro-Quebec that these issues would be taken care of. I
Yes.
just want to let you know that absolutely nothing has happened in my case.
Oh, okay.
I
So
got
where?
one phone call. I returned the phone call 3 times, left a message, and absolutely zero has happened since that meeting.
You called the city or you called Agro?
I got a message from Madame Como. I don't know if that was the lady that was at the meeting, but I returned her call. And I left her a message. She called me in December, the first time. I called and left her a message. I've left her 3 messages since. I've never heard anything back from Hydro-Quebec.
Well, that's okay. We can definitely find out why.
Just letting you know.
Yeah.
I have some specific questions and statements regarding bylaws. I was on the website today searching through what was available on the website. I understand that not all bylaws are available.
All the regulations are online.
Okay.
All our regulations are available on the website.
Okay. Just because there was a statement there that said something about not all were available. And that there
Les
may be-
règlements sont tous sur le site de la ville. Je suis pas mal sûr que tous les règlements sont sur le site de la ville.
Okay, well,
I'm pretty sure.
Perhaps you can help me because I couldn't find the one. If I've been living in Saint-Lazare for 25 years, and we all affectionately or unaffectionately remember what some of us refer to as the Bassenden affair.
Okay. Yes.
Where Mr. Bassenden had an unfortunate incident at his home and wanted to install a mobile home camper trailer to live in while his house was being repaired, and of course the city vigorously prohibited him from doing that under a bylaw.
Actually, that's not exactly. Pardon, madame? Oui. We did not prohibit him from building a new home.
No.
Or that. Let's be careful how we phrase this, okay?
No, from
Because-
installing the mobile home on his
Yeah. Well, the mobile home was the patience of the town was immense. For many years.
Is there a bylaw, though, prohibiting people from installing mobile homes?
There is a zoning
campers?
bylaw that says where you can have a mobile home and when you cannot have a mobile home. There is a zoning bylaw for
It
that.
says when?
Where you can and where you can't.
Okay. Do we know the number of that bylaw?
Le 77.
771. Okay, I couldn't find that one on the website.
Oh, it's definitely on the
In
website.
French? Wasn't there? Anyway, I couldn't find it.
Si vous y allez par numéro, j'y vais régulièrement, surtout pour celui-là, hein, parce que je dois le référer régulièrement. Il est en ligne.
Super, merci.
Par contre, il faut juste vous assurer d'avoir un bon moteur, une bonne connexion Internet, parce que c'est un règlement qui est relativement lourd.
D'accord.
Il a plusieurs pages.
D'accord. So if that's the case, I'm kind of wondering why there's a number of campers and trailers that are easily visible from the street installed on people's homes. Notably, one that I sent that I've complained about for the last 2 years to the urbanization. I've called your inspectors. I've sent emails to your inspectors on a number of different subjects. We can get to that if you'd like. I never receive responses. They don't answer their phones. They don't answer their emails. I sent an email last week on the request of your social media person to Urbanisme, and I called at extension 242. I've still yet to receive a response because there's a camper mobile home installed just a few blocks from here on St. Angelique. It's there every summer. I can give you the address if you'd like, but I'm kind of amazed that your inspectors, I'm sure, must travel St. Angelique to get to and from City Hall, and that they're not able to see this mobile home installed with its TV antenna up, the extensions out, and electricity and water connected at the back. So
Okay. Well, you have me
I
at a
can
loss.
give you a list of other addresses where the same is
Yeah.
occurring throughout the municipality.
Well, if you can give me a list, again, you have me at a loss, but I will. We can always look into it if you provide us with the address.
No problem. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention, upon my search through the bylaws, I couldn't find a single one that said for a first offense you get a warning. Every single one that I came across has a provision for a first offense, usually as a fine. Yet it seems that our inspectors or whoever that is supposed to be enforcing these bylaws are not fining people. For example, the mobile home users. Also, I've been complaining for 3 years now about my neighbors putting out garbage 5 days in advance, not conforming to closed bins, having 2 bins, having piles of furniture. I was suggested by your social media person to create a dossier. So I've been taking pictures and writing dates down for almost 3 years now. There still hasn't.
Can I make a suggestion? You seem to be well documented. You have a lot of information. Can you please set up an appointment with Monsieur Tremblay? Bring all the information you have to his attention, and we will dispatch it accordingly.
Excellent.
I think that would be the best thing to do, because you seem to have information, names, addresses, and so on and so forth. I don't think it's something we should advertise publicly for people's confidentiality. But I would suggest that you set up an appointment with Mr. Tremblay. He will look at all the information you have, and then we'll dispatch it accordingly to the necessary departments.
I was simply trying to follow the procedures that I was told to do by your social media person.
Well, since for some
and your staff at City Hall is very helpful. I got to say, everybody I've talked to has been very helpful, and you know. But at some point,
well, you seem to have
fines are in place to prohibit or discourage a certain behavior. If we don't apply those fines, people just continue carrying on.
Well, you seem to have come to a dead end. So I would suggest that you, like I said, set up an appointment with the town manager, and we'll go from there.
A good trick to make a follow-up on all your problem is you have a counselor. Where do you live?
On Volière, cross street of Nest. I believe I'm in District 4.
4.
I believe.
Michel is not there.
Michel's not here
but
right
if
now.
you call Michel, I know he's going to take care of you and make a follow on all your problems. That's a good point to always call your counselor, and from there, the counselor can make a follow-up on your problems.
You seem to have hit a dead end. So, you know, like I said, and Michel will be back next week. But in the interim, definitely set up an appointment with the town manager.
Thank you. On the subject of bylaws, during my search today, also I found in the summary of the English compulsory address numbers. And in your summary here, it says it is not only compulsory to have a door number, it is also important that it be made visible. For safety reasons, when an emergency vehicle has to go to your residence, specific address must be visible from the street.
Yes.
Some months ago,
Yes,
I called City Hall.
That is an ongoing issue.
I called City Hall and I asked for one of those lovely little signs that you've been putting in front of people's houses with their civic number. And I was told that it's the fire department that's making that decision arbitrarily, who gets one and who doesn't.
Not arbitrarily. Again, be careful with the terms you use. It's not an arbitrary decision. It has to do a lot with the visibility of the house, how far the house is actually from the road,
But forgive me,
and
Mr.
so
Mayor,
on
we
and
have
so
a
on and so
bylaw
forth.
that says citizens are supposed to provide a number that's visible from the street.
Yes.
Why then are you installing on some homes and not on others?
Mr.
And
Tremblay,
if you're using public funds to do so,
yes,
why not install them on everybody's
we had a whole
home?
project in place. I'll let Mr. Tremblay explain it to you.
Ça a été fait en priorité dans les zones agricoles et dans les zones équestres agricoles et dans les zones équestres parce que les terrains sont très grands, les entrées sont très grandes, la distance entre les bâtiments sont éloignées. C'était pas une question de faciliter, je vous dirais, pour permettre aux pompiers de reconnaître l'adresse le plus rapidement possible. Si vous avez dans votre secteur une préoccupation, quand on se rencontrera, vous pouvez toujours me l'adresser, puis on verra effectivement si dans votre secteur, il y a une problématique. Il y avait des secteurs qui avaient une problématique, ça a été adressé parce qu'il y a un coût. Il y a un coût d'installer ces petites adresses-là. Et comme vous dites, c'est des citoyens qui payent. Si votre secteur est problématique, quand on se rencontrera, on en discutera, puis j'enverrai le service d'incendie vérifié. On l'amènera aux élus, puis s'ils considèrent que c'est important de le mettre au budget, ils le mettront au budget.
Again, I find that putting this decision in the hands of the fire chief.
It's not the fire chief. I told you
that's
that.
what I was told, and that's who told me that I couldn't have one,
À la
even
fin,
if I wanted to pay for one.
No, but at the end, it's always the city council that decide if they will give us the money to do that. So
Unfortunately, your explanation doesn't hold weight because there are homes on Bedard, there are homes on Saint Angelique that the number is clearly visible from the street, yet you've installed these signs. So I'm just saying that if you're going to do that with public funds and safety is your concern, then you should do that for all the homes, because if we apply the logic here, if you go down, for example, Saint Angelique above St. Charles, the home numbers don't follow in an order. just like the street I'm on, Saint-Lazare, we go from 2019 to 2025 to 2042 to 20, there's no sequence. So, you know, if you want it to be safe and you want it to be visible, then it should be for everyone. And if you're going to use public funds to do that, then I think we should do it for everyone. That's my only concern. My only last suggestion that I would make was concerning, you know, we all know that, you know, people are in a rush to get where they're going everywhere and frequently drive through stop signs and don't obey speed limits. Perhaps you could suggest to your municipal employees that are driving vehicles identified as Saint-Lazare on them that they respect those rules and set an example for the rest of the citizens by making stops at stop signs and not exceeding the speed limit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. C'est un peu haut.
Baissez-les juste.
Vous
Baissez
pouvez-
la pôle.
La poignée en bas, juste en... Oui, c'est ça. Tournez-la. Et voilà.
Non, ça c'est mieux.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le maire.
Bonsoir.
Mon nom est Denis Germain, Côte-Saint-Charles-Nord. Voici ma question est sur le règlement 1070. Si je comprends bien, c'est ce soir que les dispositions finales vont être acceptées, adoptées.
On est au P2?
Oui.
C'est ça.
Donc, ce sera pas adopté.
Ah, Mme Renaud a dit non.
Pas ce soir.
C'est ça, c'est pas ce soir. On est encore dans le processus.
Il y a eu des changements qu'on voulait amener au règlement. Alors, ça l'a mis l'adoption du règlement un peu plus tard. On va le passer le mois prochain.
D'accord, parce que ce n'était pas inclus dans l'ordre du jour pour l'Assemblée de ce soir. Une deuxième question, je vous ai fait parvenir un courriel concernant un mémoire de l'UPA sur la notion des expropriations déguisées. En avez-vous pris conscience?
Oui.
Oui.
Est-ce que je peux avoir vos opinions? Parce que je vous l'ai demandé par courriel, vous ne m'avez pas retourné mon courriel. Madame Lachambre.
Oui, dans le fond, vu que pour moi, mon opinion, premièrement, c'est une demande qui parle de légalité, puis j'aimerais mieux que Mme Renaud vous envoie un courriel en réponse à ce qui est légal et pas légal à faire. Hein. Si c'est une expropriation déguisée, comme vous le dites, j'ai mon opinion, mais il y a aussi la loi dans ça. Je pense que ça a rapport à la loi plus que l'autre chose.
D'accord. Monsieur Casarin?
Même chose, oui.
Je présume que c'est la même chose pour le conseil. On va entendre l'opinion de Mme.
Malheureusement, je ne peux pas fournir d'opinion juridique à un citoyen. Je peux uniquement fournir des opinions juridiques au conseil et elles sont confidentielles en vertu de l'article 31 de la loi sur l'accès ou encore à mon patron ou à mes collègues.
Donc, vous allez...
Par contre, la notion d'expropriation déguisée est effectivement une notion qui est utilisée en droit. Il y a eu plusieurs décisions des tribunaux et il y en a beaucoup plus récentes que le mémoire que vous avez utilisé. Votre courriel, je l'ai vu. Là. Donc, si c'est une notion que vous souhaitez effectivement creuser, mais là, à ce moment-là, si vous souhaitez avoir une opinion juridique, malheureusement, moi, je ne pourrais pas intervenir pour vous, mais par contre, vous pourriez effectivement demander une opinion juridique. Là,
Merci, madame.
si tel est votre souhait.
Vous, votre opinion, monsieur? Je serais curieux.
Pardon?
Votre opinion?
C'est l'opinion de la Cour suprême. Donc, oui, c'est une expropriation déguisée. Dans l'arrêt Lorraine, le 6 juillet 2018. Et madame, M. Tremblay?
Oui, c'est juste que si vous voulez... Je ne pense pas que votre micro est allumé, M. Tremblay. Ah bon, oui, bien sûr, c'est des machines. Ma relation avec les machines n'est pas très bonne.
Non plus.
Pour faire, moi non plus, là, je ne donnerai pas d'opinion là-dessus. Cependant, être pris dans la même situation que vous, là, ça serait relativement facile sur l'Internet, là, Google, de mettre expropriation déguisée. Vous allez voir qu'il y a des fois, il y a des cabinets d'avocats qui donnent des opinions là-dessus.
C'est déjà fait, M. Tremblay.
Ah, vous avez déjà fait ça, c'est bon.
Aussi, on entend beaucoup les opinions des conservationnistes en ce qui concerne les terres humides et la conservation de l'eau. Nous aussi, les propriétaires, nous sommes les propriétaires de la Côte-Saint-Charles, la vallée de la rivière Vivery. Très importante terre humide. Nous aussi, on est sur des puits. On veut la conserver, notre eau. Mais il faut respecter les droits des propriétaires aussi. C'est tout. Merci.
Merci, monsieur.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Mon nom est Jean-Pierre Baracan, je suis citoyen Saint-Lazare depuis à peu près 30 ans, en fait, pas mal ça. Et depuis 20 ans dans le district 5 de M. Chartrand. L'année passée, au mois de juillet, vers la fin du mois de juillet, je vous ai fait parvenir, en fait, j'avais fait parvenir un courriel à M. Chartrand faisant une demande par rapport au règlement sur le bruit. Et je suis bien content, j'ai vu dernièrement comme vous avez fait une campagne de sensibilisation sur le bruit. Malheureusement, puis je suis le premier à déplorer ça, parfois de compter sur le sens civique des gens et de compter sur le jugement des gens, c'est pas suffisant, ça prend parfois des règles bien claires. Et j'ai regardé le règlement 830 parce que M. Chartrand m'a bien mentionné comme quoi il existe déjà un règlement sur les nuisances et sur le bruit en particulier. Et je vous dirais, puis je vais vous le lire si vous voulez bien parce que j'en ai pris note. Le règlement de la façon qu'il est écrit aujourd'hui, à toute fin pratique, il dit comme quoi entre 7h et 22h, il est permis de nuire au bien-être de la paix, au bien-être, à la paix, à la tranquillité, au repos du voisinage. La raison pour laquelle je dis ça, c'est que si je vous lis l'article 21 de l'article du règlement 830, ça dit que constitue une nuisance et est prohibé entre 22h et 7h de faire ou de permettre qu'il soit fait usage de façon à nuire au bien-être, à la paix, à la tranquillité et au repos du voisinage, de cloches, sirènes, sifflets et carillons, de systèmes de son, radio, porte-voix ou de tout autre instrument de reproducteur de son, et ainsi de suite, ça continue. Donc, c'est simplement entre 7 heures, entre
10h et 7h.
Entre 10h et 7h le matin.
Oui.
Ce que je vous demande, dans le fond, ce que je demandais à ce moment-là, c'est que le règlement soit amendé puis reflète ce que beaucoup de municipalités ont fait, dans le sens d'interdire l'installation de haut-parleurs à l'extérieur. J'ai malheureusement un voisin qui se plaît, puis je peux le comprendre, qui veut écouter de la musique, mais il s'est installé un système de son à l'extérieur. Et à tout moment où il est à l'extérieur, je ne comprends pas pourquoi un citoyen pourrait imposer à son voisinage à quel moment et quel genre de musique écouter. Alors, moi, je suis venu à Saint-Lazare il y a 30 ans parce que j'ai été enchanté par le caractère champêtre de la ville. Et je me retrouve aujourd'hui, c'est pire que la ville de Montréal. Parmi les exemples que j'ai donnés de règlements qui existent, il y a la ville de Montréal. Donc, la ville de Montréal est plus restrictive sur le bruit que la ville de Saint-Lazare, malgré que nous sommes dans un environnement champêtre.
Mais dans nos règlements de nuisance et les RMH qui existent en ce moment, justement, oui, dans notre cas, c'est de 10h à 7h, mais il y a aussi des conditions, puis Mme Renaud, elle va m'aider sur ça, mais il y a des conditions de nuisance qui ne sont pas nécessairement entre telle heure et telle heure. Donc, s'il y a une nuisance qui est répétitive, ou est trop fort pour trop de temps, etc., même si ça ne tombe pas entre 10h et 7h, vous avez le droit de faire une plainte ou appeler l'ESQ parce qu'il y a des prévisions pour ça. Madame, oui, c'est dans le règlement.
C'est exact, monsieur le maire. Effectivement, vous avez fait, premièrement, le RMH 450, si c'est bien le règlement que vous avez consulté.
C'est 830 que j'ai.
Le 830, c'est regardez dans le texte, vous l'avez sur votre appareil mobile, j'imagine. Vous regarderez, je pense bien, parce que RMH 450, ça c'est connu par cœur. 830, c'est un règlement modificateur tout simplement. Donc, vous allez voir, titre du règlement, ça devrait être le RMH 450 que vous avez consulté. Premièrement, il y a une nouvelle version qui a été adoptée par la MRC. C'est un règlement harmonisé qui va entrer en vigueur le 1er août 2019. Il va y avoir des modifications au niveau du bruit. Deuxièmement, dans la section sur le bruit, et c'est ce que M. le maire tentait de vous expliquer, il y a un article général, ça semble celui-ci que vous avez lu, mais il y a aussi des articles spécifiques sur le bruit occasionné par le travail, le bruit occasionné par un animal, etc. Il y a plusieurs articles sur le bruit. Et je suis surprise, est-ce que vous avez déjà communiqué avec la Sûreté du Québec pour faire une plainte?
Je n'ai pas fait de plainte à la Sûreté du Québec parce que quand je lisais le règlement, il n'y a rien qui empêche le voisin de faire jouer sa musique.
Dans la mesure où le bruit trouble la quiétude du voisinage, puis dans les articles qui suivent l'article général que vous avez lu tout à l'heure, il vous semblait répondre aux conditions pour pouvoir déposer une plainte. Évidemment, quand on fait une plainte, il faut être évidemment là, à l'aise à aller témoigner à la cour pour convaincre le juge parce que souvent, dans les dispositions, on va demander à faire la preuve qu'il y a une trouble au niveau du voisinage, que ça trouble le voisinage. Fait que le juge, il faut qu'il y ait des gens qui le convainquent à ce moment-là. Donc, mais normalement, vous devriez, en la mesure où le constat d'infraction est délivré puis que la cause est entendue par la cour municipale, à ce moment-là, les témoins sont. Il y a quand même des causes régulièrement sur
Je
sur
dois
le
vous dire
bruit.
que je suis très étonné comme quoi la municipalité permet l'installation de haut-parleurs à l'extérieur. Je pense que si c'était un commerce qui essayait de faire jouer de la musique à l'extérieur, ce serait pas long qui se ferait arrêter, se ferait interdire de le faire. Beaucoup de municipalités, puis dans le courriel que je vous ai envoyé, puis si vous voulez, je peux vous le faire suivre de nouveau, là. Dans le courriel que j'ai envoyé, il y avait une multitude d'exemples de villes qui étaient très spécifiques sur le fait que l'installation de haut-parleurs à l'extérieur, encore une fois, c'est champêtre. On est dans un endroit où on est supposé pouvoir écouter les oiseaux puis le vent dans les feuilles des arbres. On a parlé beaucoup des arbres aujourd'hui, là. Mais quand à un moment donné, on s'installe à l'extérieur puis tout ce qu'on entend, c'est la musique des voisins, c'est agaçant. Et encore une fois, je trouve ça étonnant qu'une municipalité comme Saint-Lazare, champêtre, permette
Mais
l'installation.
comme je vous dis, il y a des dispositions. Vous pouvez, si un citoyen qui vous cause des ennuis, il y a des dispositions, vous pouvez appeler la SQ. Des fois, juste le fait que la SQ se présente chez eux, là, ça va changer ses habitudes, disons. Mais un règlement spécifique pour les haut-parleurs à l'extérieur d'un domicile, non, ça n'existe pas ici.
Non, ça n'existe pas ici, mais ça
Ouais.
existe dans beaucoup de municipalités, incluant la ville de Montréal.
OK, j'ai compris. Vous avez dit que vous m'avez envoyé un courriel?
Je l'avais envoyé
Oui,
à
à
l'attention
moi,
de
moi.
M.
J'ai
Chaput.
copié votre
Je vous avais
conseil,
copié là-dessus.
Quelle date?
Je pense que c'était le 31 juillet de l'année passée, mais si vous voulez, comme je vous dis, je peux vous faire suivre ça.
Ça serait bien apprécié, oui.
Je vous l'enverrai.
Monsieur Baccarat, est-ce que vous avez parlé avec votre voisin?
Nous avons essayé à plusieurs reprises
parfait.
de parler. Écoutez, à un moment donné, on en est venu à monter le ton beaucoup, puis c'est pas le genre de voisinage que
Je sais qu'on a une discussion là-dessus, puis je ne m'en rappelais pas. Là.
Non, c'est ça. Non, on a essayé. On a essayé par les moyens plus simples.
C'est le paragraphe que Mme Renaud parlait, c'est le premier paragraphe de l'article 8 sur les
830?
bruits. Le RMH 450,
OK,
article 18, le premier paragraphe.
OK, je regarderai.
Merci.
Puis, peut-être quelques petits commentaires rapidement par rapport à ce qui a été dit tout à l'heure. Le règlement sur le feu en plein air, il n'y a rien qui dit que ça ne peut pas être fait en dessous des arbres. Puis, justement, pas plus tard que cette semaine, il y avait quelqu'un, notre cher voisin, qui faisait un feu directement en dessous d'un pin. Et je peux vous dire comme quoi je suais parce qu'un pain, ça ne prend pas grand-chose pour qu'il s'enflamme à l'intérieur de quelques secondes. Et même s'il y a des par étincelles, il y a quand même des petites étincelles qui se promènent qui se ramassent dans les pins. Puis à un moment donné, on va finir par avoir un incendie à la grandeur. Donc, je pense que ça vaudrait la peine de marquer quelque chose sur le fait qu'on ne peut pas le faire en dessous d'arbres.
Merci.
Merci. Bonne soirée.
Merci, M. Baccarat.
I'm going to make it short and sweet.
Are you still in a good mood, Mr. Meats?
Well, this time I'm a little irritated. There should be a time clock set up there big enough for everybody to see and give people a certain amount of time to get up here and talk, make the point, and sit down and let others get up here because some just don't seem to know when to shut up and they go on and on and on. Okay? Second point is what can be done about people whose homes look like utter pigsties? We got a couple of them in Charlene Valley, and they should be burned to the ground. These people shouldn't be living in homes because they're dragging down other people's values. You would not want to be trying to sell your house or one of these characters living across the street from you. These people should be living in barns.
Thank you, Mr. Meats. If there's
No,
a
well,
house in
isn't there
particular,
some kind
if
of
there's a house in particular that you think has a visually is a mess.
3 or 4.
Okay, well,
There's
you have the right to make a complaint, and an inspector will go.
I hate to be the one to do it, but the inspector could go by, and it's not hard to see what's going on.
C'est quoi vous voulez dire?
Complaints
monsieur?
are done anonymously.
Il y a déjà des règlements.
Well,
oui,
yeah,
c'est ça.
I'm going to have to. I mean, holy moly! If I was had a character living across the street, like one up the street, nobody would buy the house. They're going to say, "I'm going to look across the street."
Yeah, there are, by the way, there are regulations in place regarding the length of your grass, the amount of junk you can have in the front
Yes.
lot, and so on and so forth. So there are regulations in place. So if you have a specific case, I would suggest you forward
Just
the.
send the inspector into Charlene Valley. And go up and down
If
the
you have a
street.
specific, you can send us the address and we'll go look into it.
Fine.
On Richard, I'll go and make the complaint.
Will you?
Absolutely.
Yes, I
There you
will.
go.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Meads.
Happiness didn't last long.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Nichols.
My name is Nickel, Alan Nickel. First is a personal question. How did you vote?
Personal?
For you.
Oh.
How did you vote on the license tax increase of $50 for every automobile in Vaudreuil-Soulanges?
I did not vote. I did not vote. I am the representative at the CMM, at the MRC, is Guy Pilon. I did not vote. At the MRC, we have one elected representative that represents the MRC at the CMM.
Okay. So I won't have to use your name when I renew my plates.
Oh, listen, I think from what you've read in the papers or so on and so forth, you know that we understand it's another disguised tax. We understand very clearly that it is wrong. I've said openly that the amount of money we give to the CMM for what we get back is sad. And I've said it openly. I've been quoted in the papers. So are we pleased with it? Probably not. Unfortunately, it's the CMM has a lot more power than and given more power than we know.
Okay, I've got a couple of short questions. Is the town preparing a registry of all wetlands?
A registry of all the wetlands.
Yeah, you talked about it
Yeah.
last meeting.
No, we don't have a registry of all the wetlands. A little at a time, we're inventorying the territory.
There's a lot of
Now there's an inventory that is going on right now west of St. Charles. We have other inventories.
I believe the MRC will require that we have an inventory of all wetlands by 2021.
Okay, then, because there's a lot of information out there by studies that show up a lot of wetlands in Saint-Lazare. Anyway, I'll send
Yeah.
them to Madam Commissioner. Just as a question on wetlands, if there's a characterization study on wetlands in a property and it shows up wetlands, someone else does another study and suddenly those wetlands disappear. Who's the arbiter in that?
Well, I don't know who you're referring to, or what. Are you saying that if somebody,
Let's say you've already got a characterization
so
study.
you do a characterization on your land,
Yep.
and then the town does a characterization on your land, and we have two different results.
Yep.
Who wins the battle? Good question.
I think you
good
need
question.
to set something
Yeah.
up because I think that's going to be happening soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds. Thank you.
You mentioned in one of the recent meetings about the town will hire a human resource company to survey other municipalities regarding salaries remuneration.
We've already passed a resolution for that. Yes.
Will that report be made public?
As it is now, that I'm not sure if that report is made public or not. There's no decision that has been taken.
Can it be because you're using taxpayers' money to do
Yeah.
a report on how taxpayers'
Mhm.
money is being spent? I think taxpayers should be made aware.
I will bring the question to council. In fact,
Mead subject, Shailene Valley. You're going to be using total something about $5.5 million of taxpayers' money to help, which is, I think, is a good thing. But don't you think the taxpayers should be allowed to see the government report that has been kept secret for the last couple of years?
government report, you're referring to?
The report that was never made public.
Oh, you're
even after
referring
you
to
had-
the one that was prepared by the... C'est-tu le rapport du MSP qui a parti, ou c'est le rapport du MTQ? C'est celui du MTQ qui
Sur le
est...
site Internet de la ville.
It's already, yeah, it's on the, c'est ça.
You
C'est
had
les
102 petition signed asking to get to see that report. It was never made public.
Effectivement, parce qu'il y a eu 3 versions de rapport. Les versions préliminaires n'ont pas été rendues accessibles. Puis en fait, c'est pas nous qui avons pris la décision. On a tout simplement demandé de s'adresser à ceux qui avaient préparé les rapports. mais c'était des versions préliminaires et c'est pour ça que les ministères en cause ne les ont pas rendues publiques. Par contre, la version finale de l'avis technique a été déposée sur le site Internet de la Ville aussitôt qu'on a eu l'autorisation du ministère de la Sécurité publique.
Okay. Yeah, I'm jumping the gun a bit on this, but you also mentioned that there, sometime in the future, there would be a water study which would include other municipalities. It's not Saint-Lazare that was going to do this water study. It was going to be the MRC or all of the local municipalities. Can you make that or arrange it so that report can be made public?
Again, the report has not even been
I
mandated
know
by
it's
the
not, but I'm
MRC yet.
asking.
And if and when that does occur, if and when, again, that hasn't been mandated. The actual discussion was supposed to be had at a table called La Table d'eau at the MRC level. There was supposed to be an enlarged committee where these type of requests were going to be made. The meeting got postponed during the floods, and so the meeting got postponed. We don't have a date for that meeting. Again, if and when a report is mandated and if and when there are results that are available, it will be, again, if it's a report that's been paid by the MRC, will be at the MRC level that this report would have to be made public. But you're right, we're way, way ahead of ourselves right now.
It's something that affects every resident of Saint-Lazare.
Yeah.
Every resident of Saint-Lazare should have the opportunity to be able to read.
Again, it's difficult for me to answer a question that the report hasn't even been mandated yet, and you're asking a question, what am I going to do with the results?
Yeah, but a lot of times these reports get written and then it becomes.
We're not there,
we don't
Mr.
have
Nichols.
intellectual property.
We're not there, Mr. Nichols.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le maire, Madame la conseillère, Messieurs les conseillers. Isabelle Gors, rue de Ramsay. Monsieur le maire, vous rappelez-vous la question que je vous ai posée lors de la consultation publique le 25 juin?
Probablement pas, mais ma mémoire a 59 ans, donc j'oublie certaines choses. Puis, vous pouvez reposer la question.
Donc, la question pour laquelle j'espérais une réponse ce soir, c'était pourquoi le lot C étoile 052 s'est vu accorder une exemption pour le règlement sur les déblais et les remblais des milieux humides à l'intérieur du périmètre urbain, maintenant extensionné à l'ensemble du territoire. Mais pourquoi a-t-on donné une exemption à cette parcelle-là en 2016?
OK. La réponse à la question, c'est que c'est une décision qui a été prise à ce moment-là par le conseil, logiquement. Si je me souviens bien, puis encore là, j'y vais par mémoire, on parle d'un très, très petit milieu humide. Je ne dis pas que c'est une bonne raison ou une mauvaise raison. Là, j'essaie de me souvenir des discussions qu'on a eues à ce moment-là. On parlait d'un très petit milieu humide, là, ça faisait pas la grandeur de la salle, là, ou quelque chose du genre. Là, je me souviens pas exactement des détails. Mais c'est une décision qui a été prise au niveau du conseil en 2015 ou 2016, je me trompe pas. Madame Reynaud, est-ce que c'était environ 2015-2016?
Je vous avoue que je n'ai pas de souvenir.
Le règlement, monsieur le maire, le règlement a passé en avril 2016 de mémoire. On avait un autre dossier aussi qui était madame, je ne dirai pas son nom, je m'excuse, il y avait un autre dossier pour lequel vous avez déjà posé les mêmes questions parce que les voisins auraient voulu avoir le même avantage. C'est que les gens avaient déjà commencé leur démarche avant même que le règlement devienne effectif. La réponse que je vous donnerais, c'est qu'on a déjà eu une autre exception et on avait cette exception-là qu'à l'époque, vous avez appliqué le conseil parce que les démarches avaient débuté avant la mise en place de cette nouvelle réglementation-là pour l'empiètement dans les zones humides.
Monsieur Tremblay, de quelles démarches parlez-vous? Les démarches pour ce lot-là qui ont été commencées?
Des démarches avec la ville pour être capable effectivement de soit bâtir, soit à un moment donné de faire un lotissement. C'est-à-dire déjà, ils avaient entamé leur discussion avec la ville dans un contexte où la nouvelle réglementation n'était pas présente à ce moment-là. Et on avait un autre dossier aussi qui s'est arrivé pour lequel on a appliqué la même chose.
Mais je m'excuse, pourquoi on n'a pas mis une exception pour la dame aussi si on a fait une exception pour le C052?
Donc, la dame, vous savez, les travaux ont déjà été faits.
Non, je le sais, mais on a mis une exception dans nos règlements en janvier 2017 pour le C052.
Oui.
Pourquoi qu'on n'a pas mis la même exception pour la dame aussi?
Parce que les travaux étaient déjà faits pour la dame. Les ponceaux avaient déjà été installés.
Non,
Oui, en terre humide. Oui. Vous connaissez le dossier aussi bien que moi. On s'est parlé plusieurs fois, Madame Lachance. Vous connaissez très bien le dossier et vous savez qu'au moment où c'est arrivé, les travaux, même la dame, il y avait eu des problématiques et les travaux avaient déjà eu lieu.
J'ai fait des petites recherches, puis j'ai vu que ce lot-là, justement,
Lequel lot?
le C étoile 052, il y avait une demande qui avait été faite au ministère pour un article 22. Et la demande date du 5 mars 2018, donc après l'exemption qui a été donnée dans l'article 771. Et l'autorisation a été donnée en 2018, le 23 juillet. Pourquoi avoir fait une exemption avant que le développeur fasse sa demande pour l'article 22?
Je pense qu'on a une problématique de date, là, parce que je pense que le projet lui-même, les demandes ont été faites en 2014, le projet lui-même. Il faudrait aller vérifier.
J'ai été vérifié sur le site du ministère de l'Environnement pour l'article 22. J'ai la documentation.
Monsieur Tremblay?
Non, ce que je voulais dire, c'est qu'il faudrait que le Conseil puisse revoir l'ensemble, je vous dirais, de l'historique de ce dossier-là et pour lequel, à l'époque, le Conseil précédent a été informé au moment où ça se passait, a décidé, parce que la zone était très petite, d'accorder cette exception-là.
Je n'aurai pas de réponse ce soir, alors je vais vous laisser la question, Madame Reynaud.
Oui, on va vous revenir avec une réponse.
C'est sûr que Mme Reynaud m'informe, c'est que c'est sûr que la demande d'article 22 arrive toujours, vous le savez que le ministère de l'Environnement arrive toujours pas mal plus tard que la demande du début. Vous le savez, on a plusieurs dossiers pour lesquels, lorsqu'on fait une demande d'article 22, ça peut prendre.
Mais monsieur le DG, on voit la date de demande dans le registre, par exemple. La date de demande et la date de...
En fait, et là, c'est vraiment une affirmation générale. Ça ne vise pas ce dossier-là spécifique. Je ne le connais pas. Je n'ai pas été impliquée. Ce que je mentionnais au directeur général, c'est que souvent, la demande d'article 22, elle arrive après que l'amorce des demandes de permis municipal soit amorcée. Puis normalement, la notion de droit acquis, c'est avec une demande de permis substantiellement conforme. C'est ça la notion juridique. Donc, l'article 22, la demande peut être arrivée. Mais là, écoutez, c'est une...
On va vous revenir, madame.
Les dossiers généraux, c'est comme ça, mais à ma connaissance, le service de l'urbanisme est très bien en mesure de vous donner les informations, je pense.
On va vous revenir avec une réponse beaucoup plus précise.
Et ce point-là rejoint la question de Madame Glasgow. Si on met en place des règlements, je sais bien que ce conseil municipal est très pro-environnement, mais si on met en place des règlements, comment on peut s'assurer que les prochains conseillers municipaux vont les respecter et non pas donner des exemptions là où ça donne? Alors,
je ne le sais pas. Bonne question.
Comment on peut se protéger?
Mais peut-être on peut. Possiblement, la réponse est qu'on ne peut pas. Puis on espère que les prochains élus dans le futur vont être aussi respectueux vers l'environnement que le conseil qui est en place aujourd'hui. Mais encore, on va voir ce qu'on peut faire. Merci à vous. Very good question, actually. How do we assure the future? If you have a question, please come to the mic. I like it when you come to the mic.
It's just to go back to my thing about making the Piniere an EFE. That's exactly why I'm asking for that, because it'll be protected on a regional level. So no matter which council comes in power, you can never sell it. It's protected.
There are pros and cons, and I agree with you. If we could find a way to protect something for forever and ever, God bless. I understand. There are pros and cons. So, for instance, I'm getting to it. I'm not trying to answer the question. So, for instance, if you take a sector like La Pinière, let's use that as the example.
That is the example.
Yeah. Let's use that as the example. It's a relatively small area. I'm not right, and we make it a regional park or regional infrastructure. By doing that, you've just opened the access to like like Regal Mountain. So you have probably a greater influx of people and so on and so forth. My question would be rather, how can we protect it for in perpetuity, right? Without necessarily making it a regional installation. That would be actually my question. Like, I agree protecting it in perpetuity would be awesome, okay? So maybe there's a way of doing it without making it a regional infrastructure. Maybe that should be the question as well. Protecting it is the most important part. We all agree with that. The question is, can it also be done without making it a regional infrastructure? And this is a question actually that was brought up in 2012 by another councillor, Jean-Claude Gauthier at the time, had asked exactly the question because it was brought up then, can we make La Pinière a regional infrastructure? His question was, he was worried at the time that it would have such an influx of people that it would destroy the area. So his question at the time was the same one, is how can we do exactly that, but without making it a regional infrastructure? So I think the question begs to be looked into, absolutely.
Okay, so if maybe making it in a conservancy or something like that, we'll look into it for you.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the fact that you will. Bonsoir, Madame Gauthier. On va vous aider, Madame Gauthier.
Bonsoir. J'aimerais féliciter.
Rapprochez-vous au micro. Et voilà.
J'aimerais féliciter M. Tremblay ainsi que M. Casavant. Bienvenue. Merci. Ça fait du bien de voir ça m'a l'air des conseillers qui vont être solides pour nous donner de bonnes réponses dans les prochaines années à venir.
On va faire notre possible.
Je l'espère.
Ça fait du bien d'avoir une table pleine encore.
Oui, une
Oh, ben là, il y a un petit trou ici, mais c'est temporaire.
Des gens sérieux. Félicitations. Puis j'espère que vous allez redonner la ville de Saint-Lazare aux citoyens. C'est ce qu'on attend. Monsieur Grimoldo, je suis venu ici le mois passé concernant une problématique que j'avais sur la rue du Hamel. Okay?
Est-ce qu'on parle de l'eau ou le trou en a...
On parle de la rue du Hamel, toujours le même problème qui n'est pas réglé encore. Ça fait plus de 4 ans que ça dure. Il faut que ça arrête. Alors là, on est rendu au mois de juillet et je veux que ça soit réparé immédiatement. Il y a de l'incompétence au niveau des employés. Il y a de la malversance à cause des citoyens. Alors, comme votre département d'infrastructure...
On parle toujours du fait que quand il y a des grosses pluies, il y a une grosse accumulation d'eau pas loin devant chez vous, sur la rue du Hamel. Oui, le problème, je pense que je vous l'ai expliqué le mois passé. M. Tremblay a même dit qu'il était pour regarder encore le dossier. Le problème vient de Cité des Jeunes.
Le problème vient
OK. I'm too close.
Le problème vient directement de votre ingénieur des infrastructures. Il ne veut pas réparer, il ne veut rien faire pour la rue du Hamel. Alors là, étant donné que là, on a tous des nouveaux gens, là, il va falloir faire quelque chose. C'est soit qu'il donne sa démission. Non, riez pas de moi.
Non, je ne ris pas de vous, mais
là, ça va faire.
Oui,
je suis peut-être une femme, mais les femmes ont aussi des droits à Saint-Lazare. OK? Puis arrêtez de rire des aînés aussi.
Je ne ris pas des aînés. Madame Gauthier, je ne ris pas des aînés, je ne ris pas de personne. Je vous assure.
Ça fait longtemps que je me plains. Faites quelque chose. Vous avez 30 jours à faire. Sinon, ça s'en va dans les médias.
Le problème qui existe sur du Hamel... Oh.
Madame Gauthier, je vais vous répondre. Parce que, Madame Gauthier, je vais vous répondre. Dans un premier temps, vous savez, je pense que vous avez parlé avec notre ingénieur. On a toujours dit que la meilleure façon, parce qu'une partie du problème qui appartient au MTQ, le volet sur Cité des Jeunes. Parce que du Hamel, c'est gouttes comme ça s'en va sur Cité des Jeunes. Donc, une problématique je vous dirais, il faut reprofiler les fossés par rapport à ça, c'est le MTQ. On a fait à votre demande dans le dernier mois, on espère que ça va fonctionner, à votre nom, une demande au MTQ pour reprofiler je vous dirais, la partie sur Cité des gens. Donc, ça, c'est fait. Mais c'est sûr que si vous avez autant d'énergie ici que pour y avoir avec le MTQ, vous allez nous donner un bon coup de main. Je vous dirais, si vous pouvez appeler le MTQ, vous allez nous donner un bon coup de main. Donc, ça, c'est fait. On a fait une première demande. La deuxième partie, il y a devant chez vous, vous avez tout à fait raison, il y a devant chez vous un affaissement je vous dirais, de la chaussée. D'ailleurs, les élus ont été informés de ça aujourd'hui et c'est prévu. Il va y avoir, dans la période de l'été, je vous dirais, on va réparer devant chez vous la partie qui s'est vraiment abaissée. Donc, il y a deux volets. Il y avait le volet, je vous dirais, MTQ, qu'on espère qu'ils vont adresser notre demande et je vous demanderai, appelez-les vous aussi. Et nous, Saint-Lazare, sur votre chemin, devant chez vous, où il y a l'affaissement, ça va être réparé.
Et Mme Gauthier, je veux juste clarifier un petit point. OK? Ce n'est pas notre directeur d'infrastructure qui n'a pas une volonté de vous aider ou travailler. Le problème existe sur Cité des jeunes qui crée le problème devant chez vous. Donc, c'est pas notre directeur en infrastructure qui ne connaît pas sa job. Il connaît vraiment sa job, Mme Gauthier.
Ça fait 4 ans, là, c'est comme, on s'en occupe pas. Ça va faire. Vous vous occupez de toutes les autres rues dans Saint-Lazare. Occupez-vous aussi de la première rue de Saint-Lazare, qui est la rue du Fernet, parce qu'antérieurement, c'était la rue de la gare et la rue de la station.
Merci, Mme Gauthier.
Souvent, c'est parce que c'est plus facile lorsque c'est le citoyen. Au même titre que dans une ville, parce que c'est leur rue, ça nous aide quand un citoyen fait part de ses préoccupations. Je voulais juste vous dire ça. Nous, on a fait une demande au ministère des Transports en votre nom, mais je vous dirais que si vous voulez vous aider, nous aider, faites-en une vous aussi. C'est beau? Puis ce qui arrive, oui, parfait. Excellent. Merci.
Donc, on va prendre un vote pour l'adjournement pour aller pour les questions via l'Internet. Donc, un vote pour l'adjournement, s'il vous plaît.
Pour.
On revient dans 2 minutes.